Hello, I'm Eric, a sales rep here at Atlantic British. Today we're going to talk about building up a Discovery 2 into an off-road vehicle. They've gotten really affordable now. You can pick up a D2 for $3,500 to $5,000, put $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in it, and have a very good off-road vehicle. This one we picked up a couple of years ago. We've been driving it around. We've used it as a test mule, so now we're going to build it up into an off-road truck. With Doug's help, we're going to put suspension, front and rear bumpers, and then slowly build it up into a lifestyle truck. We'll have videos that'll show Doug doing each process, and we'll post those as time goes on. This truck's in good shape. It's very straight for the year, and we've had it for a few years, as I said. So stay tuned, and we'll have more information as time goes on.
I'm Doug, your tech support representative here at Atlantic British. And as we continue on with Project D2, we're on to the next step. And what we have next in line is going to be the pair of differential guards for the front and rear diffs. Something that a lot of guys overlook, but should you ever put a rock through your differential case and want to be able to make it home, these would be advised to go that route. Okay, these will protect the differentials. They are cast metal, so they can be dented, they can be punctured, so to speak, if you catch a good rock. So these are actually a good add-on to add to your vehicle. We're trying to turn this into a really high-level off-road vehicle. These will definitely assist in doing that. So what we have here is the front guard, which is terra firma. This is a TF838. This comes with the bracket, one extra mounting bracket, and your hardware. And we have the rear kit, the TF839, again with your guard, your attaching bracket, and the hardware you need to attach that. The instructions are fairly simple. They do come with the kits, but we're going to show you basically how to install them right on our Project D2. Alright, just to show you a test fit, put the front guard over. We're going to slide that over into place. Now, some vehicles may have a guard that loops around this back drag link right at the back of the diff, and some don't. Now in this case, this one does not, but there are two pre-drilled and tapped holes at the very end of the differential for that bracket, and we're going to use those two holes for the attachment in the back on the bottom. Now if it does not have that bracket, there's a good chance that those holes, and we're going to come around and we're going to show you those in just a second, if they're filled with mud or dirt or whatnot, we want to tap those out so that we got a nice clean thread when we go to put it in. The other thing you're going to want to do, and it even mentions it in the instructions, if you test slide this, essentially you're going to be looking at how this bracket attaches to the back of this cover, and then these two holes will automatically line up with two top bolts in the back side of the diff, and you're going to take those bolts out, and then this gets bolted back in its place. So if you're not sure what two to take off, you can just test fit the bracket towards the back. It's going to line right up with the two. Those are the two you're going to remove, and it's even listed in the instructions. Now just quickly too, I'm going to mention they actually give you a little list of tools required before you go to install it, so it'll be a good idea to dig these tools out and have them ready for you before you install. You have a 9/16 deep socket or spanner wrench, you can use either, 15mm socket, and you can do that in either 1/2 inch or 3/8 drive. A 13mm wrench, ratchet for either your socket, and again 3/8 or 1/2 inch, and then a 6 to 12 inch extension. Those tools will easily install this cover. This is just a matter of a few bolts. So on some vehicles you're going to have a U-shaped bracket that wraps around this drag link, and they're going to be bolted through to these two holes right here. And you can see this vehicle did not come equipped with it, and sure enough the holes have got mud and dirt packed up inside there. You don't want to run the new bolts for this bracket up in there, so you're just simply going to take a chaser, and you can get a socket to fit the back side. That makes it a little bit easier, and you're just basically going to run it up in there, and you want to clean that mud out of there. Doesn't even hurt maybe to spray a little penetrating lube in there, and then as that drips out, it's going to take a lot of the dirt and garbage that's built up in there out. You may have to run it a couple times in there until you don't really feel much grit as you run through there. I can actually see it falling out of the hole as I run this in. And it goes in fairly easy because we're just dealing with a little bit of dirt. All right, and we'll shoot a little penetrating oil in there, and then essentially all we need to do with this is we're going to take the two top bolts out. We're going to line up the bracket. We're going to see that we basically are dealing with, there's a bolt that if you're facing the back of the differential, you have a bolt at say 11:30 and another bolt at 1 o'clock. You're going to take those two out and insert your bracket, put your main bracket on, run the two bolts, and you're basically done. All right, so before we tighten everything up, and then this is what I wanted to explain. When you put these shields on, don't go tightening everything up first thing. Don't put the two bolts back on, lock them on. You want to basically get all the bolts started. We have your two bolts here in the back. The threads have been cleaned out. They're started. You have the bolt and a flat washer. And then up top, where the small accessory bracket bolts on, we've got the two bolts in the diff back in place. A couple threads started there. And then we've got the two nuts and bolts that hold the accessory bracket onto the guard itself. So with everything loose, we've got everything started. Now we can just tighten it all up, and then you're going to be in, and then we're going to do the rear as well. All right, so we're going to do the rear, and essentially what I'm going to do is hang it in place because the application is the same as the front. You got two bolts down here at the very bottom of the differential case. These two bolts actually hold an anti-vibration weight on here. Some vehicles may have it, some may not. But if you have it and you run the two bolts out, we're going to be starting with clean thread, so shouldn't be a problem there. And again, the shield wraps around. You have a small add-on bracket on top, and you're going to run, those are going to line up with two top bolts on the differential. You're going to run the two nuts and bolts through from the bracket to the add-on bracket, and essentially tighten everything down exactly like we did with the fronts. So I'll set everything in place, and we'll give you a look at it before we tighten everything up. Alright, so here we are with the back plate in place. As I said, it's the same application as the front. You just have the two nuts and bolts that hold the two brackets together. You've got the front of the small bracket being held by two bolts in the front of the pumpkin. And then on the bottom, what we've done is omit that heavy weight that was back there and install the bottom of this plate in place of that weight. As I said, because the bolts are already in there, we didn't have to go through the tap and die and all that. We just were a little penetrating oil and they ran right in. So you've got a good solid protection there. Plus they give you access holes. So if you need to do a drain, which your drain plug is right here, and your fill plug here, you can still do a maintenance without having to take the cover back off, which is a definite plus. So when you're ready to upgrade and put diff guards on your D2, and as again, follow along with us as we go along with Project D2, just call any of our knowledgeable salesmen at 1-800-533-2210. And thanks for watching.